Go ahead.
All right, everyone, we are ready to begin our second forum. The candidates for Group 3 Commission seat, of which there are 3 candidates. Each candidate will have 1 minute to give opening statements and introduce themselves. I guess we didn't introduce them overall. Do you want to do that?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Thank you. And we drew numbers for that, and Gabriel Edmond is going first. 2 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to thank our host. I want to thank the Chamber South, community newspaper, South Miami News, Concerned Clergy, John Edward Smith Communications, Red Sunset Merchants Association, South Miami Hometown, and South Miami Neighbors for holding this forum. Tonight, we renew a tradition that's gone on for many years in this community and hundreds of years in our country. We meet to discuss in self-government who's going to lead this city. It's an honor and a pleasure to be one of your 3 candidates in the Group 3 race. My name, again, is Gabriel Edmond. I'm running for a number of reasons. First of all, I love South Miami, and my family has made it our home. I think South Miami is one of the best-kept secrets in Miami-Dade County, and I want to be your commissioner to help tell the story of South Miami and move this city forward. I'm a teacher. I'm a former congressional aide, and I'm a family man. And I'm running. I want to serve the people. In the past, I served as a congressional aide, and in that time, I learned to work with all kinds of people and bring people together to solve solutions. I think that experience can serve me well here to bring together people to solve problems. And if I'm elected, I think on day one, I'll be able to walk in and serve with my colleagues to help move this city forward. I also want to address and deal with some of the issues that have already been talked about, economic development, jobs, et cetera. I hope you'll consider my candidacy, and I hope to have a good evening with my colleagues discussing important issues of the city.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Armando Oliveros, Jr.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Foreman. And I want to thank all the hosts and especially all the citizens of South Miami who attended here tonight and who are watching on television. Since I first became involved in this community back in the early 90s, my love for the city grew and constantly grew. And it grew to the extent where I wanted to constantly protect it and try to improve it. It is my fundamental desire, I want to say, that to represent all of its residents. I know that it's a very difficult situation when you have a community as divided as we have at this time. I remember when we were back in the late 90s, I had the privilege to serve on this commission. The community seemed to be a more unified entity. In the last several years, it's become to be divisive again. And I blame the leadership. I don't blame the residents, I blame the leadership, because if you don't have competent, professional, and all-encompassing government, you have apathy from the public. And when you have apathy, then you have no vote. And then that's where the citizens become to the point where they start saying, well, they don't care about us, they don't want us, they don't really need us. So they're all going to be elected the same way at the same time every year. And that's not the way it is, folks. We need people to come out and vote. You don't have to vote for me. You can vote for Gabriel. You can vote for Bob. Bottom line is you need to vote. If you don't participate, you have no right to complain. And that's my philosophy. I ask for your vote in this campaign because I think I am the most qualified. I have the experience, I have the vision, and I have no personal agenda but one, to serve this community as a whole. Thank you for taking this time to listen to me.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Bob Welsh, Jr.
Hi there. Of the 3 of us up here, who knows the issues better than the guy on the bicycle? Should I win, I'll be stopping off at your house much more often. Every household's got different needs. Wherever, whichever neighborhood I'm walking through or riding the bike through, I hear different needs. I'll be able to relay all those different needs to my fellow commissioners. We'll formulate policy and hopefully change things for the better. Win or lose, my flyers are going to continue. Should I win, they're going to get a lot better. I even envision a survey component in my flyers. I put the message out, and together we stopped a boat law, Coral Gables type, dead in the water. We stopped a rooming house law which would have trampled our Fourth Amendment rights. We won our right to put lawn clippings in the trash box 7 days a week. We scaled back the maximum size a developer could put a McMansion next to your house. We kept more offices out of residential neighborhoods. We stopped the city from expanding its boundaries to Tropical Park in 826, and the list goes on and on. What I usually did was find out what the commission was trying to do. If I didn't think it sat well with the citizens, I'd make a flyer, I'd pass it out citywide, put the email of the mayor and commissioners on it, and I'd let the people do the work. I am a firm believer that participatory democracy is better than representative democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Timekeeper, I would ask if we do get down to the end, let's let the buzzer go so that we can get in the habit of stopping. Thank you. Okay, I would like to ask the first question of all three candidates about annexation. You're already on the record as such, but to each person, and again, we start with Mr. Edmond drawing numbers 1, 2, 3, and then we'll start with Mr. Oliveros and then Mr. Welsh in the third question. What are your views on annexation? Should the city of Miami annex some surrounding areas? Why or why not? And are there specific areas that should be included in the city or specific areas that you think should not be part of the city?
I've spoken a number of times in front of the City Commission on this issue, and let me reiterate what my position is. Number one, I think before you move towards annexation, you have to, number one, survey and see what the communities beside us want to do. Are they interested in becoming part of South Miami? Do they not want to become part of South Miami? I don't think that's been done as well. Another thing is, I told you I love South Miami, and one of the reasons I love South Miami is because of the small community hometown feel that we have, where you can get to know your neighbors, and if we get too big, we're going to lose that, and I don't want to see that we lose that. And I haven't seen it. To me, there's a burden of proof on the people pushing this to explain to us why it's necessary. And as far as I'm concerned, they haven't convinced me yet that it's necessary. I would characterize my position now as being opposed in all forms to any sort of annexation. I'm against expanded annexation. I'm against limited annexation because I haven't had the evidence that explains to me why it's necessary. If somebody gives me evidence that shows me that it might have benefits, I could reconsider potentially limited annexation. I'm also concerned that important communities could be disenfranchised, and I don't want to see that happen.
Time. Okay. Okay. I just want to be fair with three candidates in the race, that we get the time and respect the timekeeper's hand. Okay. Armando, the same question on, and if I may I call you each by your first name?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And to the question of annexation, again, Gabriel made a good point. First of all, you have to research the issue of who wants to be annexed and who doesn't. You can't force people to annex. Now, if I think it's a good idea, yes, I do. I'll be sincere with everyone here. Annexation we started talking about it back in the early 90s. If you notice, and I think Josh had the map here, and he called it, the Keys of South Miami. Well, if you need convincing as to the benefits of it, it's very simple. We have areas where we have 2 houses that belong to South Miami, and the rest of the block doesn't. But then we have our police have to go service that area. Our garbage trucks have to service that area. They have to drive there, drive through 3 or 4 blocks of non-South Miami residents to get there. What are the benefits? Cost. If we're going to be in that area, we're going to service that area, we should get the tax revenue from that area. If that's not the wish of those residents, there's nothing we can do about it. So yes, the first issue is find out if they're willing to annex, and I'm talking specifically about the north of South Miami.
Time. Bob, why not connect the dots in certain areas of surrounding South Miami?
Okay, you do want to connect the dots, but you want to first ask our residents, do they like our hometown character? And if we connect too many dots, Do they think that we will lose our hometown character? Residents weighed into the commission about the plans of our city manager to expand us out to Tropical Park and down the Palmetto and back in. The tsunami of emails changed the minds of all that were on the commission very quickly. You want to ask yourself how much excess capacity is in our workforce and in our physical plant, and you only want to annex so that excess capacity would be full. You ask your residents first, and if the residents don't want it, we'll ask our residents, and if the residents don't want it, read my lips, no new taxpayers.
Thank you. I'm going to go to our panelists because they have a lot of important questions ready for you. So let's start with James Dundorf of the South Miami Neighborhood Association. A question to each of the panelists, starting with Armando.
Sure. Good evening. Pleasure meeting all of you earlier. Put just a quick plug in before I ask the question. On Monday, the 6th of February, Neighbors Association, along with a number of other groups, is going to be hosting a second forum, and I just want to put that out to the television audience and to the room, just so you're aware that this is not your only time to hear the candidates speak, that there will be a second forum. On to the question. Same one that we asked the first group. Neighbors Association has worked long and hard to keep the small town character of South Miami, in part by limiting the development to our current zoning and our current land use codes. The question is, under what circumstances would you approve upzoning or easing current restrictions on development?
Armando first.
Yes, Mr. Dundorf. I think the reason why most of us moved into this community is to keep the small hometown ambience. I lived in my neighborhood for 30 years, almost 30 years, and doors open. My kids grew up in that cul-de-sac. We know our neighbors, all the kids grew up. So yeah, we want to keep that. And your question is, in what situation would we agree to upzone? Okay, each situation is going to be individual. Depends what area of the city. It depends for what reason you want to upzone, and basically, will it benefit the entire community? If those conditions don't exist or aren't appropriate, then you shouldn't vary from your standardized or localized zoning ordinances right now. But if there's any situation where in a particular area or in a particular part of the city or in a particular type of development that may be beneficial to the entire community, then I would be for it.
Thank you. 1 minute to Bob.
South Miami residents approved 2-1 a charter change requiring 5 of 5 commission votes for upzoning. For a major land use change, it was more intense. The residents voted for that basically to stop upzoning. When would I upzone? When I think I could get 5 of 5 commission votes on an issue. What issue would I do it on? Giving the developer of the Winn-Dixie property added bonuses to keep the grocery store downtown, which is crucial to the hometown atmosphere of our city. Other than that, the citizens in that 5 of 5 initiative wanted to hold the line in development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the same question to Gabriel.
I think being a commissioner means you have to listen and take every issue case by case. I think generally my position is we do want to maintain the hometown character, and we don't want to upzone unless there's a reason or a circumstance to do it. And I think you have to look on a case-by-case basis. First, you have to look at what is the project to see what benefit it would derive to the area and to the entire community. Then you need to have a dialogue with the citizens. How do they feel about it, and what's their position? And then once you've gotten that point, then you have to come to the commission and see where the commission is. But I think typically to upzone, you have to have a burden of proof to have a project that meets all those standards. And I'm open to looking at it, but it's a high standard for it to be changed.
Thank you. We're going to move to the next question from Hans of the Red Sunset Merchant Association.
So, speaking of 30 years, you remember when parking tickets were $1? Yep. Oscar's Restaurant?
Questions to me now?
No, I'm just to
We're
everybody.
we're going to start with Bob.
30 years.
Parking tickets, that's what I remember.
The most common complaint that most merchants get on a day-to-day basis from their customers has to do with parking. The cost, the lack of parking, and the enforcement. How would you, if you were a merchant and your livelihood depended upon keeping this customer, how would you answer that customer when he or she came in and complained about it?
A minute each, starting with Bob.
First thing I'd do, and I've been talking until I'm blue in the face, is in China, they've got underpasses for pedestrians, not overpasses. And I looked at the plumbing, the sewage infrastructure around the Metro Rail across to where Connie Banco's used to be. And that's ripe for an underpass under US 1 with ramps up on both sides. Don't tell me about the water table, because a sump pump is much cheaper than elevators, and the whole thing is passive. If you relax parking restrictions too much, then nobody's going to be able to park, around the businesses, and it's going to be a nightmare. So you got to require businesses to have, their parking spaces. Thank you.
Gabriel, 1 minute.
I tell the customer I'm frustrated too, because I think parking is a problem. And I think I look at it a little bit differently. I think parking, in a way, is a revenue source for the city. And I think for me, it means we need to look at different revenue sources. I'm a proponent of a municipal bank, and that's one of my big issues and one of the reasons I'm running in this campaign. The state of North Dakota has a state bank, and over the last 12 years, it's brought $500 million in revenue to the state of North Dakota, which has helped them reduce taxes and promote job growth and development. And I'd like to see something like that modeled here at a municipal level. And I think we could address parking and a lot of these other issues. And I'll talk more about it later in the evening. But I'm a proponent of a municipal bank that could maybe ease some of the parking issues.
Thank you. And Armando on parking.
I think the question was that how would you respond to those customers and clients when they complain about the parking? That's a complaint I'd like to have. That means there's a lot of customers and clients in downtown. Again, it's a matter of communication and development. I think the downtown many years ago was developed in a way where it has limited access flow. However, we have to live with it. We have a parking garage. We have to direct these clients and customers, give them the availability to park and have an access of a walking distance to the stores, to the restaurants, to the area. Now, I don't know about enforcement of these parking citations, because I get plenty of them and they enforce them. So it's never been laxed in my case. So I don't know. But again, it's a matter of balancing the situation. Do you tell this client, I can't help you? Or does the business take part of the brunt and say, well, we'll give you a voucher to park for a certain period of time for free or for less money?
Are you suggesting that?
I'm suggesting that you have to meet in the middle at some point in everything in life.
Okay. Anyone else with any comment on parking? Okay, let's move on and have a question from Pastor James.
With the possibility